Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Victor from the Star Events team, and I'm the host of this session. Thank you for joining us today for our Live on Web, A Resilient Tomorrow, Emerging Stronger session, which is brought to you by HP for Business and organized by Star Media Group Berhad. This 1 hour session is also streamed live on StarBiz Facebook page. So thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Do share our StarBiz Facebook Live with your friends and colleagues. All right, just a few quick housekeeping matters before we begin. As everyone dials in to this webinar through different internet bandwidth and devices, you may not or you may experience minor technical glitches, so please be patient if there's any. To minimize the risk of technical glitch, all participants are muted, video cam turned off, and chat box disabled by default. But do participate by posting questions to our panel. On your user panel, click on the Q&A button and post your questions if you are using Zoom, or place it in the comments section if you are watching via FB Live. There will be a short survey at the end, so please take a few minutes to complete it. Your opinion matters to us. Lastly, and most importantly, please engage, learn, and enjoy. For this exciting session tonight, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Gopi Ganasalingam, Vice President, Global Growth Acceleration, MDEC, as our moderator. Mr. Gopi is a finance professional and an entrepreneur who has served in executive and board positions in the Asia-Pacific region for the last 30 years. At MDEC, Mr. Gopi is at the forefront of championing talented entrepreneurs by empowering them to actualize their business vision. Mr. Gopi is passionate about developing Malaysia's digital economy towards achieving sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development. With that, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Gopi Ganasalingam.
Thank you, Victor. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome for joining us in today's webinar, A Resilient Tomorrow, Emerging Stronger. I am Gopi Ganesalingam, and I will be your moderator for this evening. We have three experienced professionals with us today from different industries to discuss this very timely subject. We have seen the business resilience of SMBs, embracing digitization as we struggle through the Movement Control Order, or better known as the MCO. It's clear that the digitization isn't something that we can ignore anymore, as this is a crucial period where SMBs need support and guidance on technologies. It is therefore my pleasure to introduce our three speakers for tonight. Faiza Mohammad Amin as HP's brilliant Managing Director, Azran Osman Rani as the CEO of Naluri, and Brian Lu, CEO of Loop Holdings, or popularly known as T-Life, as we all know that. The first speaker, Faiza Mohammad Amin, has over 20 years of experience in the corporate world, a self-professed tech geek. She's passionate about supporting the future of Malaysia through technology. Faiza, I would like to invite you to officially introduce HP for Business for our listeners today and a bit about yourself as well. Over to you, Faiza.
Thank you, Gopi. I love the part that you say brilliant managing director. Thank you very much. And hello to my esteemed friends, Brian and of course, Azran. And of course, a special hello to everyone that has dialed in this evening. Thank you for joining us. As Gopi has mentioned, my name is Faiza, Faiza Mohammad Amin. I'm the Managing Director of HP Malaysia. Now, by passion, I am a geek, or what you call a technologist. By profession, I'm a corporate leader and has been for the last 15 years. And by qualification, I build strategies usually for business and beyond. Now, let's just nail down today's subject, which is on behalf of HP, I'm very happy to officially launch HP for Business. Now, all of us have just passed an unprecedented time in the last 4 months, right? Let me summarize it like how I like to tell a story. It's like a thriller. An invisible enemy of mankind, in the form of COVID-19, of course, wreaked havoc all over the world. Suddenly, almost everyone in the world was under curfew. In Malaysia itself, we went through multiple phases of MCO. Even as we speak now, right, we're still under MCO. We still have to do all the SOP, but we're in a very special phase that we would all hope to be a recovery stage, a recovery phase. Now, with this, we have to change the way we live. We have to alter the way we look at the future. We also, change the way we transact and we do business. Everything has changed. Now, the only hope is, of course, on two things. One, God. Two, what else? Technology. So everyone has to go digital. So that's the basis of everything that we will be talking about today, moderated by Gopi. So for all of you who's wondering what exactly is HP for Business, it's actually a platform that we in HP has created to ease all of you, especially SMBs, right, to embrace digital, or what people like to call it, to be going into digitalization. And what's in it are very simple, only three things. One, resources. Two, tech facilitation. And three, remote mentorship. So these are what the basis of the discussion today will be about. And I think with that, I'll pass back to Gopi. I hope I did not take too much time. Yeah.
No, not at all. Thank you, Faiza, because you touched on a very important word that I'm so passionate about, and you did it very well, which is storytelling. I think we all need to storytell, whether it's our personal life, whether we are talking about work, anything. It's about storytelling, and so thank you very much. I also realized that HP, after meeting you the other day, HP could mean happy people. So I think people. So thanks, Faiza. Also joining the discussion, our HP for Business mentors and entrepreneurs of their own, Azran Osman Rani and Brian Liu. Azran brings with himself the drive to build new businesses that challenges the status quo. With his current venture, Naluri, he aims to make digital healthcare more affordable and accessible to all Malaysians. Azran, please introduce yourself and Naluri. Over to you, Azran.
Hi, well, thank you very much, Gopi, and thank you, Faiza, for hosting us today. It definitely is an honor to be in such an illustrious group of professionals. Gopi, you're a marketer, and you make my background sound interesting. But the reality is, if there's one thread across my background, it is things have never really gone according to plan. It's one frustration after the other. That's why I tear all my hair out, and I am where I am today.
But you're here for the good looks too. Don't forget.
Absolutely, and that's the kind of when you take a rough piece of coal and you add a lot of pressure, that's how diamonds come out. But if you've ever gone through, imagine being fired from your organization, slapped with a lawsuit, having to close down a business and let go of 450 people, running out of cash again and again, hitting one frustration after the other, dealing with many shocks and setbacks, right? Gopi, you'll remember 1997 was a difficult and challenging period because we had the Asian financial crisis.
Absolutely.
And then there was 2000 when, after the first dot-com bubble burst, I had to pack up my family, move over to Korea and settle there because, things were really dry over here, and it sort of rebuild in a new country. But then coming back later and starting up new businesses, and boom, 2008 and 2009 happened. And every single year thereafter, there was always something that changed it. So one thing that I've learned, from this is I don't really necessarily want to glamorize failure. People tend to talk about it, but failure is very painful, and I don't want to wish it on people, right? And what I've learned is I've got to get better at learning and anticipating it. And also the other thing I've learned is I'm really terrible at judging. And so I need to surround myself with people who provide different perspectives. And I've had, an amazing benefit of having mentors of my own, coaches of my own, and most importantly, choosing my co-founders very well, choosing my team very well. And if my job is basically to create the environment and the opportunity and allow amazing talent to thrive, then I see so much better results than trying to do things myself. So one lesson as an entrepreneur for me is our job is not to do everything ourselves, but to create the opportunities for others to succeed.
Very nice. You know, one thing that tells me about you, Azran, and very nicely said that when you packed up in 1997, went off, did your own thing, and you came back, and you are a fine example of being resilient, about pivoting, and that's the topic today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Brian Liu, our third speaker. On the other hand, Brian Liu, as the founder of Tea Life, has worked with a diverse portfolio of F&B brands such as Jindaku, Croissant Taiyaki, Define Food, Kukai, to name a few. Apart from being hailed as a role model for young entrepreneurs, now listen to this, Brian manages a strong workforce of 2,000 employees who serve over 5 million customers in more than 500 outlets worldwide. Look at this young man who's built this business. Brian, please introduce yourself and tell us about the business you're in, and tell us how you built this fantastic business model, all from KL. Over to you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks. I think first of all, thanks to Gopi, thanks to HP, to be honored to be able to share the stage together with all the most amazing entrepreneurs out there. So I think I started off very humble about 10 years ago, with very simple vision, nothing rocket science. I wanted to modernize the tea drinking experience where it used to call Yum Cha long time ago. So I want to cultivate that into a widely accessible lifestyle tea drinking cultures, starting off with a brand. So fast forward today, Tea Life is the pioneer of our industry. We are the largest lifestyle tea company in Malaysia, if not Southeast Asia. Tea Life is 3 years old. We've been through one of the toughest turning point in our life in 2017.
Yes.
With a lot of PR litigation and all this. We moved on and changed from our previous brand to a new brand. Today, we are glad, we are very fortunate enough that we expanded more than 500 stores, not just in Malaysia, with other 6 other markets in the region, employed more than 2,000 young people, serving more than 5 million customers who walk across the store on a monthly basis. Fantastic. I think that doesn't happen coincidentally. I think I own that 100% to my team, who have dedicated from a very small vision that we trusted that we are here to cultivate the modern tea drinking cultures. Not so much of creating a trend, not so much of creating a bubble tea trend, but really modernize and cultivate the tea drinking cultures anywhere we planted our stores. So I think a bit of background before the COVID started, we used to expand 200 stores just before the COVID lockdown happened. So the entire company structure was built in a way to support the exponential growth. And we have a very strong shared resources team at the back of the company, which helps us to support our company vision. But the pandemic literally put on hold every one of our expansion plan, not just local, but also towards our international market. And to be able to sustain our huge manpower without imposing any redundancy, we have every reason to be motivated to pivot and evolve into different business funnel, not because that we wanted to make more profit, but we want to protect the livelihood of our people. So I think, yeah, in a nutshell, it has been quite a ride for us, but nothing could ever be worse than the 2017 turning point that we've been through. Even COVID today, we felt that, it was not too bad for us after all.
Wow. Yeah, that's an amazing journey. And for a young man like you, Brian, well done. In fact, I don't know about the rest in Malaysia, but both my daughters and my son are fans of Tea Life. So if there's a treat that I need to give them, it's always Tea Life. So well done.
Thanks, Bobby.
When we stress, we go for Tea Life to de-stress.
Yes.
Thank you.
So just 1 minute, panelists. So at this point, I'm going to take a break for 1 minute. So I want to just say that before we start with the panel session, we'd like to do a quick poll to understand your current business priorities. Appreciate if you could take 1 minute to vote below. And the question is, which has the highest priority for your business? A, affordable technology plans. B, business guidance and support on navigating the new normal. And C, accessibility to loans. So we'll give you 1 minute to take the poll, and then we'll jump straight into the panel discussion. Stash should have played some music.
Anybody can sing? Yes,
There you go.
it has to be
Yeah.
Azran. But no sound.
No sound. Faye, you're not well.
No, it's the aircon. I'm
Oh, I
blowing you
forgot to
all.
tell the audience, Faiza is known as Faye, Lemonade.
Glamour. You know what music would be good, Gopi? Jeopardy.
Jeopardy, yeah. Yes, that is excellent.
And then,
Dun, 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 dun.
yes.
It's a long poll.
Mm. Is this really a minute?
Well, I was told it's a minute, and I'm waiting for them to give me the cue when to start. Victor, are you going to tell us when to start? Or should I start?
Yeah, you can start. We'll end the poll now.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the poll. So we'll now get into the panel discussion. For the panel discussion, very interesting, some very tough questions for panelists, but they're tough people, they'll answer it very well. Is the first question: what are some of the leadership actions and decisions that you have taken to tackle the issues arising from MCO? Faiza, please take that.
Okay, sure. Well, when MCO came, it was really a surprise because, we've heard about what happened in China. So we thought that, okay, and then it hit Malaysia. And then the announcement came. We basically had one day to actually make everything happen. So I think regardless whether you come from the corporate sector or from the SMEs, even to the retailers on the street, everybody had to be ready without being ready, without having a lot of knowledge about something that is invisible, we're not familiar with, we don't know the extent of damage that could have done to us. And the best part was we thought it was going to be a short time. We're going to be, we're not going to see each other for about a week, then we're going to get back that. And it didn't happen like that. So the first thing, that as a leader, that I think that we should do, and I did that, was first of all to get as much as information that I can get from a reliable source. So getting as much knowledge about COVID, understanding how it is impacting the health of my people and Malaysians generally. Secondly, understanding where the right sources, the truth sources would come from. And third, talking about it with my people, just calming them down. That was the first thing that we needed to do because everybody was panicked. The first thing everybody came to me was asking, ma'am, how can we go to the office to take the stuff that we thought we're going to get it in the next 3 days? And it's been 2 weeks, right? So next step was to ensure that we have a proper standard operating procedure. I know SOP now is some sort of a dirty word. Everybody hates it, but it's just how it was when we first started. We created a way for us to do things without endangering each other. And we communicated to everyone, this is how we're going to actually conduct business. That's the second thing. And the third thing, we actually conducted business together, one hand above each other, using platform that we're not familiar. We use, video calls and all that, but never really for business, right? All of us believe in this physical interaction, the warmth, the chemistry, and suddenly it's not there. So together we started to build that knowledge. How do we build chemistry on Zoom, on other platforms? How do we ensure that when we talk, we don't feel that we're talking alone? So sometimes I remember asking my team, can any one of you switch on the cam? Because I really feel I'm talking alone here. And it was really a good journey. So that's how we did. But that's just on the action. The business itself, it's pure strategy. If you've heard that strategy actually is something that change all the time, I'm used to it. But basically for MCO, for COVID, strategy change almost every other day.
That's right.
We learn new ways how to do business, and then we continue to tweak and tweak and tweak until we get it right. But
Mm.
in all, we understand one thing.
And?
Communications, very, very important. Meaning lines, telecommunications was actually key. Two, technology platform, meaning that the access technology, the phones, the computers, the desktops, and the printers, very, very important. I'm not selling HP here, but seriously, suddenly everybody started fighting for one printer that we have at home because of things that we needed to do. And I guess the last thing that we did as leaders was actually continue to be there with the team, figuring out how we can do this together. So
Yeah.
that's basically it. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. So it looks like if I sum it all up, you're saying it's all about leadership. It's all about taking charge. It's about doing community work, CSR, caring for the team, being inclusive,
Yes.
using technology as the fundamental connector as you did. And most importantly, I think it's knowing your true north and staying the course.
Yes.
That was his strategy. Well done. Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Because
Thanks.
as you said just now about
Yeah.
creativity, about
Mhm.
failure, and a lot of people, talks about it like it's something cool. And I agree with you, right? Failure is very painful when you go through failure. But creativity, when what we learn in MCO, once you creative, failure becomes just something that, it's not a failure, it's something that it didn't work right. You
Yeah.
tweak again and you create again. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I realized about talking about failures is it's nice to talk about failures only when you're successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's sweet.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to move on to Brian. Brian, what did you do? I mean, look at your business. It's thousands of people, millions of customers, 500 locations. You were very much brick and mortar. You were very much a store experience. People come to your store, they know what to expect. It's about customer experience. It's about touching and feeling the product. Now, during the MCO, how did you and your team react?
So I think COVID outbreak is really unprecedented. I think no one else gets spared in these kind of situations, including government, company, and society as well. So as the business leader, I think we got to respond to the situation promptly with a strong sense of urgency. So what we did correctly at the beginning is we managed to develop a daily response virtual room with all our key players to step up our internal communication. I think that's the first thing we did. In a crisis moment like this, we managed to grab hold of the state of business every day in daily basis, if not hourly. With that sort of clarity in the business and leveraging on our internal BI tool, which we built a couple of years back, we managed to quickly develop some detailed modeling around our daily P&L. We're nailing our manpower and our food costs on daily basis while keeping a close eye on our cash flow position. So looking back at all the previous effort when we digitalizing all our internal processes, I think today we are definitely at a better position to harness all the result in the real-time basis and start to tackle all the challenge as we go along. I think at the beginning of MCO, our financial strategy is very clear, just to preserve cash above everything else. So while we continue to hunt for all the different pockets of growth.
Nice.
And I think most importantly, what we did is to the team is we instill a sense of urgency and the positivity to our team. We actually continue to encourage them, motivate them to keep the spirit high while we all navigate around all the unknowns, trying to search for the next breakthrough idea. I think leading to the effort, we managed to pivot into a few e-commerce driven, yet very emotional, connected initiative during the MCO, where we get to pioneer some of our flagship projects. Like we started off with a pet project called My Bubble Tea DIY Kit, targeting on consumer who look up for fun activity at home that time. But from a pet project beginning as a pet project, it grew quickly into a solid business model where we started to cater from customers from local and international markets. So we launched the bubble tea kit into multiple platforms through our online store, through our third-party online stores. We started to get to 4 to 5 markets and started selling our DIY kits. And that managed to help us to garner a lot of media attention at that point in time. I think something that we never expected before in our life. Very little that we know a DIY kit will ever work in our model. So what we learned from the whole COVID period is there's a lot of unknown business model have turned out to be a very successful business model. So very quickly from tasting that first success initiative, we went into not less than about 20 different innovations, including growing our own e-commerce division, extending our product into FMCG industry, scaling up our virtual kitchen format, strengthening our online training module to upskill our people and equip them with more hygiene and protocol, more hygiene and safety protocol to combat with the COVID situations. So I think all in all, that's what we do in the short 3 to 4 months, something that we have never done before in our history. In fact, we have actually compressed it and do it more. So I think that's what we do, Gopi.
Thanks. So it looks like it was the right strategy for you to have employed or rather embarked on digital strategies, digital platforms where you were getting customer data. You were able to use customer data when the MCO happened and your customer changed overnight to from a store customer to an online customer, rather from an on-premise customer to an online customer. You were able to come up with a new business model and to serve your continue serving your customers. Am I correct?
Yeah, Gopi. Yes.
So that COVID or the MCO has opened up new revenue streams, I would presume, for T-Life.
I think they have opened up a lot of our paradigm of thinking for us as well. Something that we have never thought it would happen and would succeed. We've been there, we've done that, and we discovered that there's a lot more area that we can push through from our brick and mortar business model.
But how did your team take it? You have 2,000 people, right?
Yeah.
You have 2,000 people of diverse culture, different areas. I'm just shocked how you were able to contain the team and get them to move. What was your secret formula?
So actually, there's no secret formula. I think we've done a couple of very successful technology adoption. For instance, one of the most notable one is we managed to build a cloud-based kitchen display system that allowed us to train our people from used to be 30 days. Now we can train our professional tea restart at 14 days. So what we did is before that.
So you've got business efficiency now.
Yes. So
which
before
will translate to cost savings, maybe.
Exactly. So before that, we need to train our staff from foreign staff to local staff to multi-language. But right now, we actually streamline everything into a cloud-based kitchen display system. So they just have to look at the digital screen and follow the SOP and started to make the drinks from there. So from there, not only be able to shorten our training period, we technically able to reduce our quality issue over the time as well.
Well done, amazing. So you've also got business efficiency. Well done. I'd like to move on to Azran, who is standing, not sitting. Azran, you come from a diverse background, from a co-founder from AirAsia to co-founder at iFlix, now in Naluri. Different. I know you're a very resilient man. You pivoted your model, but it must have been very tough for you too during the MCO. What did you experience?
Well, it's interesting because to me, the one thing I had to fight was to not rush to take charge. Because as leaders, our natural tendency is in times of crisis, we want to jump in, we want to make decisions, we want to tell people what to do. But the problem is these are situations where it is not clear. And there's a danger because we tend to gravitate towards our past beliefs, right? That we say, okay, this is what I know, this is what we should do. And so the first thing for me was to recognize that I may be in danger of making too quick of a decision. So I need to make sure that I get good feedback, whether it's external people who will tell me real things as opposed to telling me what I want to hear. How do I create the right psychological safety so that my team members are willing to speak up and bring real problems rather than being afraid to speak up? And the more I discover that the more I don't know, it's where the more I need to communicate. So I've got to increase the cadence and intensity of communications. For example, with my team, we moved from a daily stand-up to a twice daily stand-up, right? So 9 to 9:15 in the morning, and then another checkout at 5:45 to 6 p.m. A lot more emails to team members, a lot more, Slack, virtual town halls, just a lot more communication. And the main thing for us was we needed to run a lot of experiments, right? But here's the one thing for me is there are times when you've got to really focus on, I've got to meet payroll in the next 2 weeks, right? So I've got to roll up my sleeves. I've got to get involved with receivables, collections, renegotiating payment terms with suppliers. You just can't delegate this to your team members. But on the other hand, if you are so engrossed in kind of just the week or 2 weeks priorities, you may not realize that there are fundamental and structural changes happening around you. And so for me, the way to balance that out is to be very deliberate and clear how I allocate my time. And specifically, I needed to have, say, a few hours on a Friday afternoon where I just focus on what is structurally going to change over the next 6, 12, and 24 months. Because we see payment channels are completely different now.
Yep.
E-commerce is moving in a different way. Digital health has starting to come up, that the way customers interact has fundamentally changed. And we need to spend time thinking about that broader horizon.
Yep.
But if we mix it up, right, while at the same time I'm worrying about short-term cash and payroll and collections, everything gets jumbled up. So proper allocation of time for the different tasks that we have to do was essential for me to be able to make sense of the craziness that we were all going through.
So could you share that burden with your colleagues? I mean, do you have a number 2 or a number 3 or a C-level, C-suite within you that you shared some of these burdens? Did you take on? I know you said cash is the cash runway is the most important. Keep your eye on the cash. How did you then work with the rest of your team?
Well, exactly. So with us, right, we moved to a twice daily communications cadence. Now, this is very important because I feel a lot of people aren't managing remote teams well because they say, okay, guys, it's an urgent situation. I need everybody to be on WhatsApp and email and respond immediately. But the problem with that, right, is if you move into asynchronous communications randomly throughout the day, people can't focus and get things done, right? Because I'm trying to write a report, I'm trying to do this. Oh, my boss has reached out and I need to reply. The moment you keep switching tasks, you're taxing the brain's ability to focus. It becomes more fatigued very easily. And so a key way of dealing with that situation is to define communication protocols, i.e., okay, we're going to have a check-in in the morning, check-in in the evening. We're going to be clear what needs to happen after 6 p.m. because if it's really urgent, who's going to act on it? But for most of us, we've got to be like laptops down. We've got to rest because this situation is a long haul thing. If we just go crazy for 2 weeks, we're going to burn ourselves out. So how do we think about the endurance and stamina to go through many months and possibly even years that we're looking at this?
Got it. Communication. Go ahead, Faiza.
Jump into that a bit, right? You know, the challenge of being close to your team while being far, using just Zoom, all this platform is to have that affection put out there. It's very, very challenging. And I think what Azran said is true. The more you communicate, I think the more you get the hang of it, because at every situation there's a different way of communicating.
Yep.
And the psychological balancedness of your team is key, because the minute they lose it, you're going to lose focus because you're going to be focusing on them losing it. So true, it's continuous talking to them, but not over talking. You can't be in their face,
Very good.
You just have to get it right.
Hold that thought. That's an excellent one, because that leads to my second question. I like Faiza to answer this, because that's exactly what my second question is about with retail sales tumbling. How did you modify your current business model quickly to ensure that the effects from COVID-19 is mitigated? Okay. So how did you do it?
So the retail sales, I think when we talk about retail sales, I think for those who's uninitiated, it's about people on the street, right? The shops on the street. And it's always a physical brick and mortar business. Even before COVID, HP has always been a pioneer in actually opening the minds of a lot of our partners, our businesses, to adopting technology. And one thing that there's only one path, right, for you to touch everyone, just like how you speak, which is online, which is digital commerce. So during those times, the minute we pass the second week, we're going to the third, fourth, fifth week. The third week, we knew that this is going to be a long haul. So that conversations with our retailers started. Then we slowly structure the best method for them to actually come online with us. We made it easy. So that's how we went through that journey. And I also wanted to add, when I talk about communications with my team, I also mean with the retailers and the partners out there, because all of us make a full ecosystem. Yeah. The fear that my team would have, it's the same fear that the retailers and the partners have. Yes. So, being there making sure that everybody has a platform to put everything on the table and addressing it accordingly
Well done.
actually helps. Yeah.
Well done. And I have a question for you, because I worked for big brands before, and you were able to keep the ecosystem alive, whether it's cash or whatever. I have a question for you. HP Inc. is a big company. How did you manage to get the necessary approvals in place to quickly pivot to a model that works for you? I'm amazed.
Yeah. So HP, the amazing thing about HP, our process and procedures is as strong as a brick. Some people would say negatively, but it's really positive. It ensures that whatever the situation is, we are able to actually run with the process and procedures. And that's one. Two, the ability for us to also communicate to the partners and the retailers and the team of how do we actually even strengthen what, last time we used to, it's something that you put on the side first, you do this first. Now it becomes in the middle and the forefront. You do this first and then things are right. And in addition to that, HP as a big brand, the minute we knew what was the biggest problem for retailers, which usually is the cash flow, because you basically have to close shop, right? So we came up with many incentives even before the government of Malaysia could do that, because the government of Malaysia had to first focus on the population at large,
Yes.
then the
yes.
business. So we had to start with the business. So that's how we actually went ahead with it.
Very good. Brian, I know you spoke about your, moving on to Brian, I know, Brian, you spoke about your new business models. Is there anything you want to add on how you were able to sustain sales?
Yeah, I think we did a field thing during this unprecedented time. I think we did quite a number of firsts, probably more firsts than any of our historical journey. So I think what we did is we managed to pivot our brick and mortar business from used to be crafting bubble tea and sell it to our consumer, into a couple of new different initiatives. I think one of the most notable and iconic one is our Tea Life and Walls ice cream collaboration. So we actually launched an ice cream, a product extension during the lockdown period. I think that's really get the market too excited, because no one expect things like this will happen during the lockdown period. Because when we are in the lockdown, logistics is an issue, distribution is an issue, but I think we managed to pull that through together with the boss team and basically launch a Tea Life inspired popsicle ice cream out to the market. So we done that, and then we launched our own and third-party online store, featured a DIY kit from multiple brands. From there, we extended into a ready-to-drink format for home use, which is 1 liter called Just Pour It. And coming soon, I think one of the things that we'll be planning during the COVID period and very excited about is that we're about to launch a bubble tea specialized mart in partnership with GrabMart and PandaMart. So that is our aspiration of making her cooking at home or homemade bubble tea the next staple for every household.
Well done.
You believe that, there's a lot of housewives at home love to cook their dessert. They cook red bean, they cook sago for a homemade dessert, right? But we want them going forward to do bubble tea as the next staple at home. So I think that's completely in line with our master plan to expand our upstream. We are building our own pearl manufacturing plant that's ready to commence by end of the year. So with that, we are moving towards really cultivating the culture of tea drinking or lifestyle tea drinking, not just on the retail basis, but back at home as well.
So anyway, we all became great chefs during the MCO. So your business model,
everybody's housewives. Brian was saying housewives. No, everybody's housewives, yeah?
I think you are right, because I think before COVID lockdown, there's non-existent about the hobby, right? Everyone, there are some people love cook, but not everyone else that love cooking. So I think what we discover, COVID have actually shaped people into better lifestyle or a better me lifestyle. So I think through that, we feel that Tea Life has built a very strong brand equity in the market and reputation in the market. And that allow us to extend our offering, not just into homemade DIY kit, but into multiple format of FMCG product near the future. So I think although, retail remain the key component in our sales, we also wanted to invest heavily in our resources and time towards digitalization, because we feel that the online market will continue to grow and will double its pace eventually to become the long-term normal.
Good, thanks. Azran, do you have anything quick to add? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to a very interesting topic.
Well, just very quickly, I mean, we clearly doubled our sales effort. We reached out
Wow.
using LinkedIn connections. But here's the thing, it's not simply about the brute force of just sending out. Personalization still matter, right? The way we sell is not we say, hey, this is what I have, this is my price point, but really, how can we solve other people's problems? So if we take the time to really understand the specific frustrations and challenges that specific decision makers have, and then position what we're offer as something that's going to solve their specific condition, we're going to create more connections. And so that's kind of what we did, right?
And that worked very well for you.
Yeah.
So was it bespoke, or you took market segments to do it?
Well, there are market segments, right? Because for us, insurers have very specific needs. Corporate employers have very different needs. Pharmaceutical companies that we work with also have very different needs.
Okay, good. Thanks. I'm going to go on to a topic. I just read the question, and for me to answer it first, it looks like it. Question 3. With the introduction of Shop Malaysia online campaign, is digital transformation the core to moving forward? What is MDEC's role in helping these companies? Let me put some things in perspective before I come back to all of you. The Penjana Economic Recovery Plan, the government has recently introduced various measures to revitalize the economy through its Prihatin and Penjana packages. I just want to highlight some of the relevant stimulus packages. There were various tax deductions, including for renovation and refurbishment of offices. There was a waiver for rental. There was COVID-19 related expenses. There was flexible work arrangement incentives, and even for new business setups. There was also the extension of the wage subsidy program for those who qualified. The other one, very importantly, was the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox by MOSTI, where 100 million was allocated for this to accelerate the digitization of service delivery. And there were grants and funds to help businesses digitize, which MDEC's own smart automation grant is part of. With that said, I just want to go on to the next one, which is the next one is the Shop Malaysia Online. I just want to put things in perspective before I come back to the panelists. See, when the Shop Malaysia Online campaign was launched, so we took a lot of things in consideration. COVID-19 has shown that going digital, especially for businesses involved in retail, is the way forward. And the government recognizes this, which is why the Penjana initiative has a component for e-commerce. This includes the Shop Malaysia Online campaign and the micro SMEs and e-commerce campaign. Shop Malaysia Online campaign is actually a sales campaign to encourage online consumption. Under this campaign, discount vouchers, which are co-founded by both the government and the e-commerce partners, will be issued to consumers to be redeemed against their online purchases on participating e-marketplaces. MDEC is now working with e-commerce partners, the likes of Boost, Fashion Valley, Fave, Food Panda, Grab, Lazada, Maybank, Shopee, Touch and Go e-wallet, and Zalora to plan the campaign mechanism and execution. There's just the online consumption campaign. MDEC is also involved in the campaign to get micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs onboarded onto the e-commerce platforms and shift their businesses to digital platforms through the micro, SMEs, and e-commerce campaign. By working with these same e-commerce partners in the Shop Malaysia Online campaign, MDEC will support MSMEs with e-commerce onboarding training, seller subsidies, and sales support. So my colleague would be putting on would be typing out the website to go to or the toll-free number to call if one of the listeners or the participants want to look into it deeper. But before that, I would like the panelists to come back online to answer these questions for us. So, Faiza, what do you think? What's your thinking about all these campaigns that are coming out of government to help the SMEs?
First of all, I was surprised at the efficiency of the government in tackling and addressing the needs and the requirements of the businesses. When I heard MOSTI came out with Sandbox, and then MDEC.
You're a tech geek, and that would have interested you a lot. Yes.
Of course, yeah. And of course, MDEC giving that platform for micro SMEs to actually come online. I think that is extremely required in this day and age. But what we need to do is we need to strengthen further how the way these SMEs and even the really small businesses to embrace, right? I think if there's any measurement at all, HP is very specialized in access devices, which is computers, desktops and all that. And the take up of computers, laptops, notebooks went up to the hill. Everybody wants it, right? So now everybody knows that they need to have a device. Second, what they need to know as they go online is what security is required in order for them to actually use it properly. Now, security, I'm not talking about people hacking and all that. That's one thing. But security in terms of how they do their business and how they deal with data. I told you when we met last time, I respect Brian when he actually really, take on the innovation of using data that enables his shop to be able to know the profit at the end of the day. So tomorrow, you know what kind of resources you want to do and how much you want to buy. That is the capabilities that will be available once the sandbox is fully utilized. So I think Malaysia is in the right direction. In about less than 3 years, we will see a new generations of SMEs and startups, and SMEs will start blurring the line because they're almost the same. So that's how I see it.
Azran and Brian, you want to quickly add, because I didn't realize time flies when you're having fun. I've got only 12 minutes more. Azran, quick one. You want to say, what do you think about the packages, stimulus packages coming out, and how is
we're certainly applying for them, but at the same time, you've got to try multiple things. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. We completed a fundraising round in April in the height of the pandemic situation.
You did it? Wow.
Yes, he did.
Make the fundraising round because we engaged a lot of investors. Now, we had 60, 70 people who declined and said no, right? So you just have to have a lot of thick skin and go out there.
Thanks. Brian, quick one.
Yeah, I think in our cases, I think that somewhere the field is pretty good. So I think when government issue an incentive of 50 ringgit through e-wallet platform to an individual with an income less than 100,000 annually, that technically boosts the grassroots economy. So I think we foresee that retail with mass market pricing will largely benefited from that. I think there's naturally a lot of strong tendency towards local tourism and F&B business in this short term of time. And we can see that sort of incentive through the e-wallets platform will actually spike the local economy in some way. And we feel that, but ultimately, we feel that the path to sustainable profitability really required business owners to accept and live with the new normal and to be able to turn around quickly with an effective business plan and a new innovation. Because if I can put a word to describe it, whatever monetary and fiscal stimulus, right, it's just like a small plaster on your injury.
Yeah.
But the sustainability really came from the mindset shift from among the SME community themselves. So I feel that there's a lot of mindset shift and a lot of innovation that we have to put in place to tackle these situations.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to go on to the question and answer. My God, quite a few questions out here. I'm going to choose 3, one for each panelist. Faiza, I'm going to go for you first. How do you see Malaysians transitioning to the digital future, especially when most small businesses are stalls, mom and pop shops? Faiza.
I think it will be as smooth as it can be because when the government of Malaysia creates the platform that enables everybody to embrace digital, all the ecosystem starts to play their parts. So I don't see any hindrance to it. And I see a new generation of stronger SMEs that will come out of it. Very, in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Thanks. Brian, a question to you directly. Question to Brian Lu. How is T-Live able to sustain or keep the huge number of employees since most of it is not someone's blocking the screen. Okay, I'm going to read that question again. How T-Live is able to sustain or keep the huge number of employees since most of them are not at the outlet when it's closed during MCO period? Any retrenchment, cutting of salary? How did you manage it?
So I think to qualify the situation is during the entire lockdown period, we still managed to keep 80% of our store in operation. There's only 20% who sit in the urban mall that we have no choice but to close it. So because of the 80% of our outlet in operation, it keeps our manpower occupied in that way. I think we also took opportunity to really organize some of our excessive manpower through a flexi hour. We allow our people to take about 4 to 5 days working days instead of 5 to 6 days working days. So I think what we did is some of the measures we do is no salary increase, we freeze hiring, we take some opportunity to reduce some headcount for non-performer. So all in all, I think we managed to reduce a lot of cost pressure through implementing the flexi hour. And also we cut our working hour by half during the Ramadan period. So I think all in all, we managed to secure all our full-time staff, but we make redundant some of our foreign workers, which we hire from third party. I think that's how we get through our daily manpower and monitoring that on the very daily basis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Azran, one question for you. How does COVID revolutionize the adoption of technology and your investment allocation for tech?
Well, to me, it's about accelerating it because think about all the interactions that normally we take for granted happening face to face. How do we kind of really completely move it online? So for example, in our case, we do have people who are only familiar with face-to-face therapy, right? Because they need that connection. But what technology allows us to do is, how do you bring that virtually, but do it in a very secure manner that people feel comfortable, that they can open up. But at the same time, how do you use technology, various tools to rapidly increase the productivity of professional coaches? Because if it's just, I take a life experience and I just digitize it without any productivity improvement, you're not going to make any real breakthrough. So technology or digitalization is not just taking what was offline and making it online, but thinking about how can we 10x the productivity and the experience.
Fantastic. Thank you. Very well done. Thanks a lot. I've got one question for myself. I'm going to read that out and answer it. I hear of the success of the private sector and the manner in which they changed their strategy to cope with the MCO and thereafter. My question to the panel was, the public sector keep pace? Is the public sector keeping pace the private sector in this aspect, i.e. changing strategies to suit the times? So I just want to say at MDEC, we have a business continuity plan all through, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. We've always been ready for a BCP, business continuity plan. And like Faizal said, we saw the trend as well from China into Japan to Hong Kong, coming into Malaysia. And we anticipated it, and we kicked off the BCP in February. March 18th, the MCO was announced. March 17th, we got our act together. Everyone went online. March 18th, all 500 of us were working from home. We did our town halls from home. We did our industry engagements from home, from online. We did everything online. Everything, all our initiatives went online. In 12 weeks, we rolled out over 50 initiatives, which included funding, which included training, which included connecting people, which is industry feedback. With so many initiatives that went online. So I thought, I would like to say that I'm like Faizal had mentioned earlier, I am very surprised, not so surprised from my angle, but I'm very surprised the way industry came forward to help government during a crisis. And that was very sweet. That was very telling of all of us as Malaysians. We all stood together to fight this together. So yeah, we moved well with technology as well. Before we end, I just want to say thank you so much. And I want to just probably ask each one of you very, very quickly, starting with Brian, what are your key takeaways and what do you want to tell your audience, your very high level 20-second pitch? Brian.
I think often enough, I think crisis moment like this, business leader really need to step up and do what's right to protect the company and the stakeholder. And sometimes making the right decisions with a sense of urgency can be very controversial in our case and very challenging. And most of the time it's unpopular. So I think we learn to take comfort with uncertainty as we remain flexible and compassionate to our people and try to keep alert with whatever changes that are happening from time to time. So I think my personal mantra is always aiming on small win, because all these small win will then gather to become an ultimate big win. And Tea Life Bubble Tea Kids is actually our first small win, and the rest become history.
Very well done. And I wish you all the very best, Brian,
Thank you, Bobby.
amazing business you're building out there.
Thank you.
Azran, do you have a parting words? What do you want to
Sure.
tell the audience, all the SMEs who are looking at you as a guru, who has been in big companies, who has restarted businesses, building new technologies? What do you have to say to them?
There's virtually no business or technology problem that we face that someone hasn't already faced it. And so the power is, how do we network and learn from others, especially technology decisions? Because if you make a wrong technology decision, your technical debt can build, right? And the problems can amplify, right? So getting those right decisions in terms of architecture and systems and tools are crucial. But here's the thing, many people have figured it out, and some of them have learned the hard way, including me, many mistakes. So reach out and connect so that you don't have to experience the mistakes that we did.
Thank you, Azran, and I wish you well as well. And congratulations. Not many were able to raise funds during the MCO, staying at home online. Congrats.
Thank you.
That's resilient. That's fantastic. Very good. Well done. Faiza, last but not least, Faiza, what are your takeaways, and what do you want to tell the SME community?
Very simply, one thing that we should learn from going through this COVID-19 situation is that nothing is for certain. Even the treatment for COVID until today is not there. We don't know whether it's ever going to come. And if it comes, we don't know whether things are going to be the same. However, we also see that business continues, economy starts to pick up. So in one word, all of us have to persevere. But in order for us to do that, I think a lot of leaders, I'm reminding myself to take myself out from burying my head in the papers, to actually look up and see what's going on out there, and really breathe in and then bring it back and, tweak your way until you get there. I have to say this for HP also. This is one of many webinars that we're going to continue to do. We will be launching a very special program next month, hopefully, that will actually ease the burden of most of SMBs. And we know the burden is cash flow. So please continue to follow this. And, thank you to Azran, Brian, and you, Gopi, and the Star for doing this with us.
Thank you so much, Faiza. And I really wish you well. And I am impressed with HP and what they want to do for the community. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists, for sharing your insights. And thank you, everyone, for your participation. We hope you have gained some valuable takeaways which are relevant to you. Remember, being resilient is not an option if you want to survive. Pivoting your business model is the new norm. Going digital is just not sexy or fashionable. It's the answer for staying relevant in business. That's all for the time we have for today's session. I will now hand back to our host for tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gopi, for moderating the session. And also thank you to our three speakers for tonight, Faiza Muhammad Amin from HP, Azra Osman Rani from Naluri Hidup, and Brian Liu from Lope Holdings. I'm sure that our audience have learned a lot tonight, but before we end tonight, please do help us complete the evaluation poll, which will appear on the screen now. Once again, thank you HP Business for making tonight's session possible. It is a great effort in championing and empowering local businesses. We very much appreciate it. If you'd like to find out more on HP for Business, please visit www.8.hp.com/my/en/solutions/small-business.htm. You may also find this link from the comment section below. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, it will be in the comment section as well. Do keep a lookout for the second series coming soon. Good night, everyone, and do stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.